I'm good. What were you doing? All right, we got enough, Craig. Call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Rogers. Master George.
Here.
Eckerly.
Here.
Steiner. McLean. Here. Baker.
Here.
Birch.
Here. All right, citizens' comments? Regular agenda, item 4, consider possible action approving resolution 2024-003-R, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the with the Texas Department of Transportation to replace or rehabilitate the bridge located on South Old Robinson Road between Highway 77 and Downsville Road.
All right. You may recall that I believe it was toward the end of last year, I brought you something very similar for a different bridge in the same area. It was just up the road. We had bridge confusion because myself and the engineers thought they were talking about the bridge that's there, that we're building the new drainage for all the water to flow. But they were talking about the bridge that was pretty much silted in and wasn't working, moving any water anymore, and hadn't for a long time. Which in our plans for the project down there, we were actually eliminating that crossing. We weren't planning on using it anymore. So, as we got moving along and we were talking about how quick can you do this and everything, we're talking about how bad is the shape the culverts and everything were in there, like, they weren't that bad, and then we realized we're not talking about the same bridge, so. They realized that this bridge needs replaced a whole lot more than the other one, so basically they're gonna move everything that we originally did from that bridge to this bridge, so it's the same deal, it's federal funds, so there won't be a match or anything required on us. This just changes the paperwork to apply to the new bridge, so this is just a resolution, everything that authorizes, for me to sign any and all agreements with TxDOT for this bridge. And the only potential cost is if we have to acquire any right of way, we already determined through our other project there was no need for any right of way, so there should not be anything else on this.
Will this affect the scheduling on the original bridge? Or?
Well, the original bridge isn't really a bridge anymore, it's pretty much all filled in, and there's a little bit of water flows under, but not enough of a consequence, so we're just gonna leave it alone. It's kinda not really, it's filled in, it's not really doing anything, so. But this one, there's actually chunks of concrete falling out of the culvert on the road. In fact, we're worried that we're cleaning it all out, that it might not hold up in the long term.
Or was the whole thing?
Yeah, so.
Any questions?
Does TxDOT have a time frame?
I think that they haven't given us a definitive date, but they've indicated they'll try to start moving forward on it fairly quickly because of the condition of it and with the work we're doing there. But they probably won't be in a position to start till we finish our work, which is probably another 30 to 45 days out. But this year, the plan is that I will leave the next few months. But it is TxDOT, so I would not been a job.
Bert?
I make a motion to approve, resolution 2024-003, authorizing the city manager to enter an agreement with Texas Department of Transportation to replace the bridge on South Old Robinson Road.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
To the workshop agenda, we have a planning workshop regarding discussion regarding goals and budget planning for fiscal year 2024 and 2025.
So, we do this each year, as we get started with the budget process, kind of go over some of the bigger items we're gonna see in the budget, or potentially the department's gonna ask for. So, you can tell them absolutely not if you want tonight, so we're not spending more time on it, or you can tell them, you know, the money's there, we look at it, or however we wanna do that. So, and again, we're just talking on the bigger ticket items, not gonna get into the minutia yet. They just started working on their budgets. The other thing I wanna focus on, after we talk about that, is project funding and things like that in the short term, and then also talk about where we are in the street improvement program, what we gotta do, and what the options are gonna be going forward in the future. So, we'll start out. So in the general fund, the significant potential increases, one of them is, as always, is probably gonna be healthcare. I estimated a minimum 15% increase, that gets us to about 80,000, depending where it comes in. It could be, if it's 20, a little over, between 20 and 25, that's 120. If it comes in like last year at 30%, then we'll probably have to look at making adjustments to the deductibles and things like we did last year to find a cost that's gonna work for everything. But that's just, I think that's an automatic. We're gonna see that every year. It's getting crazy. Volunteer fire department is working on their budget, and they notified me that they're planning on asking for an extra $200,000 to $210,000 in the coming budget. Some of that is in line with what the committee has been discussing, which I believe that's gonna be presented at the council meeting next week.
You give them a new truck and this is what happens.
Yeah, they want
They
more.
want more.
So, police departments begin wanting more. They are indicating they wanna ask for another officer. They have a little bit of an imbalance on their patrol shifts. They have one shift that's one officer short. And then they also are looking at wanting to, get a laserfish license to start transitioning their, I guess, decades of paper records to electronic. So they can free up some room. So they have that there.
Oh, wow.
Within the street department, David doesn't wanna use his last century dump truck anymore, apparently. So, he got one that's a 90s model.
Yeah, late 90s.
Late 90s.
They built them better back then.
And it's down a lot, and it's costing a lot in maintenance. And the newest truck is the one the Durapatcher runs off of, so it limits, if we need more than one truck to be hauling stuff ready to a project, then the Durapatcher can't be out there working. And there's always something for the Durapatcher to work on, so. And then in the parks, we've had some discussions about what to do with the playground equipment. It's weathered really bad, all the plastic parts and everything are in really rough shape. Those playscapes are no longer in production, so it's hard to get parts. David's guys just got a tunnel or two for one of them, and we're able to modify it to fit our existing equipment. But so one of the things we've discussed is doing something with those and also putting shade cover over them so that, one, the kids can actually play on them in the summer without cooking themselves, and two, the equipment will last a lot longer. So he's tossed a couple of options out. One of the things he's looking at in discussion with the splash pad is removing the smaller playground and putting a splash pad where the small playground equipment is, and then keeping the other two, and either refurbish those and cover them or replace each of those with integrated covers.
If we were to replace one, what do you do with the old one? Sell it or a Little League would, old one, a Little League complex?
So,
I should know it's.
I mean, typically that stuff we auction off.
Auction.
Yeah. But, so So again, I think he's gonna do some more, this is all just preliminary, but he's also been approached about, accessible playscape,
Yeah.
which 17,000 is not much of a playscape.
That's a small one,
Yeah, it's
like 4 to 6-year-old.
just a small one, yeah. Yeah, 'cause I know my last city, we put one in that had a ramp with a slide and all that stuff on it. That was 2014, it was like $88,000.
Is the plan to keep the old dump truck or sell it or what?
Auction it.
What the value is on that?
They're actually pretty popular. For some reason, they sell pretty good. I don't know, but, you know, what the value would be, but the one, we have 3 now. One of the 3 is, it's got electrical problems that you can't really diagnose. The other one, we spent 8 to 10 grand a year, and we have to rebuild the clutch pretty much every year, so one reason we're going to automatics now. Yeah, those kind of things are, they tend to auction pretty well.
Would you auction one or more or what? This is for one truck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big is this one that you're requesting? How many yards?
It's 16 yards.
16 yards.
Same as, 2019, we purchased a brand new Mack. And I think with a 3-year lease purchase, and I think the plan was to purchase another one. Well, we paid that one off and we just hadn't done it. So,
Hey Craig, what's in the 200 to 210 funding for the fire department?
That's them adding some full-time positions and replacing equipment, things like that, getting away from using old and used equipment, things like that.
What's the total funding to them now?
It's 620 right now, so they're looking at 820 to
30%
830.
increase.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's 32, 33%, 34%, something like that. So, but just like everybody else, you can ask, but how much money there is. And we only got the preliminary tax roll about 3:30 today, so I looked at it real briefly, and it looks like we might be able to, get another 150, 180,000 revenue out of that with the new construction and, having to stay under the 3% cap.
Did we stay pretty flat other than new construction?
No. Really not. But we went from, our final certified last year was 1,427,000,000. The preliminary this year is, I wanna say, it's like 1,590,000,000, but our final usually comes in about 96% of that, so probably somewhere, probably up. I think the final number would be up somewhere right around 500,000. Yes, for all the protests and all the corporations that follow the lawsuits and all that stuff, which they're writing down. So, and the new construction was only about 26 million this year, kind of in between bigger projects. I think the only big commercial thing that came on this last year was Taco Bell and some residential. And we'll probably pick up MFS next year, because it should be completed this calendar year, so early next year when they start doing the appraisals, it should be occupied and running. We won't see anything from the Walmart until 27. appraisals, may see some value from it, but we won't recognize the full value of it until that next year. So talking about trucks, one of the things that is becoming a real challenge, and we'll see a little bit when go to utilities are vehicles. Vehicle prices are becoming kind of out of control, I guess is the best way to put it. In 21-22, we bought 5 new police vehicles fully rigged out for about $34,000 a car. And now they're pushing about $70,000 a car for a fully rigged out patrol car. And just a basic Ford F-150 work truck, you're talking $35,000. Whereas we used to be able to pick them up for just over 20, late 20s. And so, one of the things that we're going to explore, I don't know if it's gonna be feasible, but we're gonna explore it, is, there's a couple different groups out there that are doing true leasing of vehicles. Enterprise is one of them. Now you gotta do at least 20 vehicles with them, but they provide the vehicles, they provide the maintenance. You don't get them, pay them off and own them when they're done. They come back, they track the mileage, they track the markets, and they may come in at 18, 20, 24 months and say, we're ready to swap out the vehicles so that they can sell those at, maximize their dollars. So,
They have a fleet program, Enterprise does.
yeah, they're pushing this. I know the PD's looking at it, and I've talked to some of the department heads to just explore it. I don't know that 20 vehicles, that if you do enterprise, it's gotta be 20 or they don't do it. But it's just, with the number of vehicles we have in the police department, and then looking at our fleet of pickups and all that other stuff, it's just trying to figure out how we can keep that price from doing the budget where we come along, we gotta go up high one year to purchase a bunch of vehicles. And then maybe we just continue to lease purchase and we own them at the end of the lease and just try to figure out how to time it, but we always have that money built in the budget, but it's gonna be really tough. I know the police department, we just paid off the lease, the last lease we did 5 patrol vehicles and 5 CID/admin vehicles, and it was $157,000 a year for 10 vehicles, and now we could probably get 5 for that. 4.7?
They want you to lease 20 vehicles through them, or just have 20 vehicles on their program? Because don't they have like a maintenance program, so maybe you could like add our existing vehicles onto that fleet?
I don't know, right,
Because we bought 5 or 6 at a time, and, I never heard 20, like you had to buy 20 leases at a time.
yeah, and it may be like
Yeah,
that, I haven't explored it, I know the PD's looking at it, and
Yeah.
they're looking into
I
it.
spoke with them last week, and they just require you to have a fleet of 20 vehicles.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so you don't have to do 20 at a time.
And then you could put the existing fleet on there, and then they track your maintenance and everything through that, which is nice. Of course, there's a fee in that.
Just the PD has a fleet of over 20 vehicles.
But it is cool, they'll let you know as soon as your miles hit whatever it does, and they'll come in and they'll outfit your car and everything, just deliver it right on.
So that's one of the things we're gonna explore and see what kind of annual cost that would be. My concern is getting the city employees to take good care of them. Because sometimes mindset is, well, it's not mine, so. But there's more work to do on that, but that may be something you're gonna hear more about over the next, this budget year, or even into next budget year. So, just wanna bring that to your attention. And then next one's the utility fund. So, again, the health increases, it's smaller because there's a lot fewer personnel allocated to the utility fund. And then utility maintenance is looking for a new mini excavator. There's a lot of times they've gotta get in people's backyards and stuff, to dig down to a sewer line or whatever, and trying to tear down their entire fence and tear up their whole backyard with even big excavator. And then they need to replace their flatbed truck that is an old truck that we got from who?
Whenever the city was gonna try to start doing their own street work, is one of the vehicles that was bought during that auction. It was, originally had a water tank on it, it's 2000 model International, so pretty well wore out when we took it out and made a flatbed out of it.
And then one of the things we wanna look at getting back into is, pipe bursting. We kinda put that on hold for a couple of years while we implemented the AMI program, since we were doing a lot of that work out of fund balance and out of the annual budget. But we still got a lot of, clay sewer pipe out there, and so I think the next one is over in, James Wesley in that area. We have some really deep lines over there that are very problematic, and we have to go over there. It's 18, 20 plus feet,
Certain areas.
trying to get in people's backyards and dig down 20 feet to fix up broken sewer lines is a real challenge, so.
Very costly is to have one sewer tap fail, and that, you're talking years to ever get your return back from that customer, paying that contractor to come in there and fix it.
So the hope is that we can get in there and pipe burst a lot of those old lines and get them out of there. And then, we added one plant operator this year, and I think I mentioned, when we went through the budget process last year, the goal was to come back and add another position this year. And that's anticipation of increased demand, plus the plant upgrades and all the other things we're gonna be doing. And a lot of these costs were projected in the rate increases and things, so. I think we'll probably end up in better shape in utility fund than we will be in the general fund, so. So those are, and there's been a few other things we've talked about, but really significant. I think probably before we do much with the playground, we're gonna figure out what's gonna happen with the splash pad. That's gonna move forward. Figure out a location if we do wanna put it. I think your feeling, David, is to put it where the little playground is, so it's close to the pavilion and parents and everybody can keep an eye on the kids that are around there.
Did you say that you're anticipating an additional 180,000 in revenue?
That's just from ad valorem taxes in the general fund.
So what's our anticipated increase overall?
We got the numbers today, so I can't. And some of that's we're fixing to start talking about some debt coming up, and that's gonna impact some of the general fund. So yeah, I haven't seen any budgets or anything yet, so I don't know, we're still doing a salary survey, I don't know what those are gonna come in. But, I mean, typically in a good year, we'll see 250, 300,000 new revenue from all sources in the general fund. I would think this year probably will be pretty typical in that, as far as new revenue. Where the tax rates and things fall with the value going up, if everything stays the same, the tax rate would come down, even if we went up to the 3%, the rate would still come down. But we're gonna talk about, we've gotta do a debt issuance for the, project related to the Walmart. And we're gonna discuss whether or not we wanna increase that and do some additional issuance to work on some other city projects, or if we just wanna limit it to. We're just about out of bond money for projects, we're running through those, so, but we'll get into, I've got some more details on that coming up here, but I think, you know, it's just, we're gonna be, just like we are every year, it's figuring out, you know, what's the greatest need and where to allocate the money, because we'll have more needs than we have money, as we usually do. But if there's anything on this list that you want to say, nope, absolutely not.
Would it be more cost effective to rent a mini excavator rather than a full purchase?
Well, I think the challenge is getting hold of one when you need it. Cause usually when they need it, it's cause they've got backup or weapon line or something like
It's
that.
the immediate demand thing.
And then you get into the, can we find one, is it available, can we get it delivered?
Right.
That's usually the challenge. We already have one small one, it's just not,
Yeah,
it's too small.
base model is small, about as small as they come, man.
Yeah, it can only dig about 5 feet down. So some of these sewer lines, I don't think a main will get you 23 feet though.
No.
But they actually get used by, my last city, we ended up buying a mini excavator and it was being used all the time. Cause a lot of times if they can use it on a job, it tears up a whole lot less. It's easier to get it set up, get it done, get in and out, and you're not tearing up as much as if you bring in bigger equipment. So,
I feel like I've been using it all the time.
yeah.
So for me, Craig, it's hard to say what I say no to without knowing what we have
Yeah,
on
well,
lines.
and you'll get that opportunity. This is just kind of letting you know, like if, like, well, I'll just give you an example. If there were police radars up here, historically that's been, we don't need any more radars, so, but yeah, I'm just kind of giving you a heads up of some of the issues that we're gonna be dealing with. Whether or not I'm fitting in the budget. When I recommend a budget to you, if there's stuff in there, it'll be because we can afford it. You'll see what's in there and what I had to take out, and decide where to have this put it in. But
I think I probably need to air my feelings on the budget overall first, maybe the council does too, to kind of see as where we want to help you direct.
Okay.
So, seeing the things that need to be purchased in per department, I understand that. When we look at a particular budget from like last year's budget to this year's budget, if we bought a truck, and I'll pick on David's department, if we bought a truck in his department last year, because say his budget's for easy numbers, $100,000, and we put a truck in there for that. Is that budget $100,000 coming into this year and then an increase of the ask? Or is that just his basically what runs his department and his ask on top of that?
They would like it that way, but that's not how it works.
Okay, just
No,
clear.
that's, so when I am looking at the budget, one of the things I do is I go back and I look at what did I put in the budget last year for a one-time purchase or whatever. And if they didn't ask for something else, I take that money back. So,
Yeah, I
if
would
they
agree,
think
that's right.
and it may get allocated to another department that hasn't used that year. So once something goes in, now, personnel costs and stuff like that, once it goes in the budget, it
Sure.
goes in the budget. But capital items or one-time purchases and things like that, just because it's in their budget this year, it's not automatically next year. Now, the police department, they paid off the lease for the cars that we got in 21 and 22. This past December, right? December, you guys paid? So they have about $157,000 allocated in their budget. My expectation is we're gonna keep that in there because we've got more cars coming up to replace. And that's kind of what I wanna work towards is, instead of doing that, I need an extra $200,000 this year. Like David in the Parks Department, he's got $285,000 in the Parks Department this year, to build a parking lot. That's not gonna be in the Parks Department budget next year. So, even if he asked for if he was to get all this playground equipment, he still would get $285,000. So, but the idea is to take as much as we can in the budget, take out that up and down and level it out, like projecting out costs and knowing that. That's why we do some of these vehicles, we're doing lease purchase as opposed to lease. In some cases, we could afford to lease these vehicles or purchase some of these vehicles in the past, but by leasing, we're putting them in there, by the time those are paid off, we're ready to bring on more, as opposed to buying 2 this year and wait 3 years. Especially with that 3% cap, because if now you gotta go over that cap and make those purchases, you're now getting into that whole realm of, they say, hold the vote and all that other stuff, so.
And so that's pushing 3% cap each year now, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, inflation's gonna, is pretty much pushing us up to it. You know, now we have the de minimis thing where we can actually go another 500,000 above that. Before there's a vote, they can petition for a vote, but it's not an automatic vote, but we've not exceeded the 3% cap. Okay. This last year is the closest we got to it since it's been in place, but.
I just want to sit and say that, I mean, some of you have experienced inflation the way that we have today, but this is the worst I've seen in my adulthood. Certainly it's pressure that everybody's feeling. So, you know, keeping taxes, you know, we may keep the same rate, but yet it does increase our budget due to ad valorem increase. I'm really sensitive of just overall new tax, period, just try to keep that down to citizens for this year. You know,
You may
hopefully we can ride it through for a year, but then you worry that if you don't raise up 2 or 3, then the next year you're stuck, because you can only go 3 again, right?
Yep. Yep. You know, back, it used to be we could go up to 8. Nobody, very few places went to 8. Most places would be around 4 or 5 that had to go up to. But at least if something unexpected happened, you could go up to 8. Now that they lowered it to 3, you almost have to go to 3 just to keep up. Because if you don't, then, like you said, now next year,
You really need to be growing quickly.
well, but even if you're growing, it's because you're increasing the demand for services and all the other stuff, so.
You did real quickly in density.
Do we have any visibility on the fire department's financials? Or do they run their own and do we see what they?
They're putting their budget together, they just haven't
Do
given
we,
it to me.
so we get to see what they're spending?
Yes.
We have visibility on
Oh,
that?
yeah, they submit
Mhm.
monthly reports when we do them now. Correct, campaign. So, I get monthly reports, but, yeah, and they're subject to audit and those things, so.
Okay.
So if they're asking for 200,000, that's a 32% increase.
I'm not asking
You're
for
telling-
32,000, they're asking for 32.
If you're telling me it's 620 now, and they wanna add another 200,000, that's 32%.
Right.
So why would we need to increase their budget 32%? I definitely need to see
Yeah, we'll have some breakdown.
details of that.
Well, like I said, part of it is they're trying to get to the point they can provide, they're a volunteer fire department, so they're not a paid fire department. But yet they respond to the entire city like a paid fire department. They're 24/7, 365 operation. They're the only fire service we have. Without them, your house burns down. So we need to make sure they have the adequate equipment and things to do. Historically, they've gotten like Waco being a full-time paid fire department, they can't get, their equipment when it reaches a certain point, they have to replace it. They can't continue to use it. And then they hand it down to volunteer fire departments and they use it after it's obsolete, basically. Which puts them at risk of it. So in order to keep a robust volunteer department, you wanna make sure they have safe equipment and those things to provide the service.
Which is why we bought the truck.
Right,
You know, the
but
other
you gotta have the
trucks.
guys to get on the track, so.
But I'd still like to know,
Yeah.
it's still, I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah, well, no, they're gonna present their budget and things like that,
But
so.
we're gonna have
just-
to prove up why 32% increase would be necessary.
Well, and just for comparison cases, Hewitt has a full-time fire department. They have 4 firefighters on duty at a time, and their budget is about 2.2 million. They're getting ready to add 4 more firefighters, and so push their budget up over 3 million a year. So we are saving considerably by having a volunteer fire department. So we wanna balance that to make sure that
For sure, we definitely will make sure they have adequate funds to do this for sure.
Well,
It's
part
just
of
when
what
you-
they're getting into is they believe they need some full-time positions, because trying to operate strictly off of volunteers, you know, making sure they have the equipment and scheduling the training and doing all the things they have to do, But they'll provide all that, but yeah. Now, whether or not we have the money to do it is a whole different issue. And they, again, they can ask, everybody can ask, everybody here can ask for everything they can ask for, but they gotta get past the board. Usually,
I'm sure Steve will have a nice PowerPoint.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and we'll get into the, I think they're gonna make their presentation next week, but one of the things we're getting into is they're gonna stay a volunteer department. We have to be very careful how much we run their department, because otherwise then they become full-time city employees. And then we have to pay them like full-time firefighters. And right now, they have some people that they pay what they call station duties, which are not being paid like fires, they're being paid to maintain the equipment and stuff like that. They pay them an hourly rate to do that, but we've had quite a few meetings with the city attorney about how do we make sure that we're not so hands-on with their personnel that if something happens, the Department of Labor or the courts say, well, effectively those are city personnel, and then they go back and say, you gotta pay all of them like they were full-time firefighters for the last 2 years. So that's.
So who holds them accountable to the extent, would it be Steve? Somebody has to hold them accountable if we can't, beyond a certain.
Yes, they have to hold their own people accountable. We will control the finances, but they have to answer to us on that, so. And that's what we're working on, that's what the report will be, I believe they're gonna do it next week, but I've gotta get with the chief and see if he's ready, or maybe the June meeting, but we've had a fire advisory committee meeting for 8 months now, 7, 8 months. And we've looked at all kinds of different options. One of the things that's, we run into, talk about Hewitt. Hewitt can respond to 1 truck. That's all we got. The 4 guys that respond to 1 truck. We'll have 3 trucks show up. Hewitt will call us for 8 and we'll have 3 show up. We'll have 12, 14 guys on the scene. Whereas they can get 4.
And vice versa, so that is sort of
Yeah.
in the mix, in that we can depend on them to come help if needed.
Yeah, they'll come in on mutual aid too, but yeah, they'll send 1 truck. Cause that's all they do. Now, when they get their new station built and staff, they run 2, but right now they just have 1, so. So yeah, so that's part of that, but yeah, it's just, like I said, I just wanna give you a heads up of some of the challenges that are coming at us, because just right here, we've got probably $500,000 of additional expenditures just on the screen here, and like I said, we won't have $500,000 more money, so.
Chief Smith is the rookie officer, starting salary, 86.
No, that's gonna figure all the benefits within the.
Yeah, that's.
Starting pay is 5508 a year.
Hold in July.
That's health insurance, TMRS, workers' comp, social security, Medicare, all that. But that is just the personnel cost, that's not uniforms or car. You should have kept that car we just got rid of, you could have given that to the rookie.
Do one.
You should have kept that car we just got rid
Oh,
of,
yeah.
hire a new officer and say, here's
There
your
you go.
car.
The regular,
Training vehicle.
yeah,
Maybe it gets the old.
they do that
You have to push the airbags out of the way though, to see out the
on
windshield.
both sides.
But,
So part of my ignorance would be, you should, some significant budget request utility fund healthcare, 20 million. But about on the previous screen, talking maybe to 120.
yeah, well, we have about 55 people in the general fund, and we have 20, less than half that. 2/3 of our employees are in the general fund, and 1/3 are in the utility funds, okay? The general fund tends to be more personnel heavy in costs. The biggest part of the general fund budget goes to personnel, whereas in the utility fund, it's a much smaller portion. It's like maybe 1/4 of the entire budget, where in the general fund, it's probably half.
Are they on the same plan? You're talking about health insurance, correct?
What about that?
Yeah,
Yes.
healthcare, they on the same?
Yeah, everybody's on the same plan. We're all on the same plan, it's just 58 people versus 20-something people. So that's why the cost is different, so we have fewer, because we have, what do you got? You got
13.
11, 16, and then the people inside, so we have 20 people in utilities.
Well, for your cost down.
My
It is
question would be,
confusing,
why is it separated, because, obviously I'm new, so why is it separated for, if they're on the same plan, the same budget, why are
Well,
we
they're-
separated
so-
from utility and general?
So governmental budgeting 101, everything is budgeted in a separate fund. So all governmental costs are budgeted in the general fund. Those are the costs that are funded by property taxes and fees and things like that. Utility is considered a enterprise or proprietary. It's budgeted on a different, and accounted on a different type of accounting method. And so it has its own separate fund, and its revenues and everything is separated. So those monies are not mixed together. We can transfer between them, but they're not mixed together, so. So what we do is, the utility fund is separate, they have their dedicated personnel, and then we make a transfer each year from the utility fund to the general fund to offset part of my salary, to offset part of Karen's, to offset part of HR's. We all easily spend half our time doing the utility things. But instead of trying to split our salaries in two, the utility fund basically reimburses the general fund stuff.
I love accounting stuff.
Yeah. But we actually have like 7 funds. We have a debt service fund, by law it has to be separate, we have core technology, hotel motel. It's all its own separate fund, it's all accounted for separately. That's by law, it has to be done that way, so.
Thanks for the education.
The 101.
Because that's, I haven't had any of this.
Yeah, now, in corporate accounting, if you have more than one set of books, you go to prison. In governmental accounting, you have to have separate sets of books for everything. So, but that's just the laws and the accounting standards and all that stuff, so. So, yeah, so
If
it's
you want
like,
to forward me some of that information about how this is done, I'd be happy to read it.
that's what
But at this point, I've had absolutely no training on it, so that's why I was on that.
see if we can get you a good governmental accounting class.
Yeah. Set me up.
Most accounting students hate that class, by the way. Remember when I was working my degree, I had people in accounting were like, oh, I got governmental accounting, I hate that.
Let's do it all right.
So, but, okay, well, I'm gonna move on to probably the main thing we need to talk about tonight. That is, different project stuff, so, y'all remember just, what was it, last month, it sure seems like a long time ago.
It's been a long, really month.
But just last month, Walmart announced they were coming, and we entered into the agreements to finish John Bowden Parkway and to extend the Gray Street sewer line. So that's the estimated cost of those 2 projects. And that total amount is $5,014,352. And if we finance it for, on a 20-year CO, the annual payment will be $360,843. If we set it up to where we do interest only for the first couple of years until the Walmart is completed and we reap full value from that, it would be $188,000 in interest for the first 2 years. And if we did a 30-year, the annual payment goes down, but the interest goes up. So really don't want to do a 30-year, but I just wanted to show you that for comparison, because you're paying that extra 10 years of interest, you're actually gonna pay more interest the first couple of years. But, as far as the TERS and the revenue, and we talked about this before, until the Walmart is finished, they're a little on the short side. So, if we're only gonna issue the debt for the Walmart projects, then we would probably wanna set it up as interest only, and we're gonna have to help them out the first 2 years and then they can reimburse us in the future. If we want to, and we'll get into some other discussions, but by year 3, when the Walmart comes on, the anticipated minimal value for that, which we went pretty low, I think we valued it, projected value at $59 million.
Is there any penalty for paying for policy?
Paying off early? No, I mean, you have to hold it for a certain amount of time, but you can call it early.
did a 30-year interest only, yeah, you're paying 10 more thousand a year in interest. But if you buy that for 2 years till Walmart's up, then your full payment is gonna be less. So, and then you could pay more towards that payment.
Well, that makes sense, you know, Tony, because it.
That's the option, but I got on 30-year and drop that payment.
If $70,000 means something in the budget.
For 20 grand,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll take 10 more years and fit my budget a little better. Now, that all depends on, is that a 30-year project you want to hold on to?
Well, the TERS exists for 30 years. So, it's the TERS value, but, I mean, the thing is, yeah, you're gonna save 10,000 the first 2 years, but you're gonna pay all that additional interest over those additional 10 years.
Not if you pay, you don't have to make bigger payments.
Yeah,
If Walmart comes in, go ahead.
but as the TERS grows, the plan was to take the new, all that additional revenue from future TERS projects to do other improvements, like build that connection from 35 to Gray, and do some of the other infrastructure projects that need to be done. And if you tie all that money to this one project, then you're not gonna have the increment to do those other projects. I mean, if we stop at Walmart, we're good, but the plan is not to stop at Walmart. The hope is that more will come in, it'll create more increment and things like that, so. But, I mean, if we're only doing this, and this is all we want to borrow once, then you consider it a 30-year. Because it may be that it's such that, you know, you have enough extra revenue to pay it off early. But we're gonna talk about, since we're doing a debt issuance and where we are for other projects coming up, do we want to look at, since there are certain costs involved in a debt issuance that you pay whether you borrow 2 million or 10 million, the attorney's fees, the issuance costs and all that other stuff. Those are pretty set costs, the cost of publishing the official statement, the cost of going through the bond rating and all that, that stays the same regardless of how big your issue is, so.
So on your projected revenue, year 3, it starts paying for itself on the 20-year.
Yes. Yeah. And that's only anticipating what's currently in the works. Anything additional, like, I think I told y'all, there's another project looking over there next to MFS. I've not put any projections from that value in these numbers. This is just based off of what's currently in the TERS and what Walmart will like in the TERS.
What interest rate is that? Based on-
Jennifer told me on the 20-year, they've been seeing about 3.5, 3.6. But it'll depend on the day they price it. And that'll depend on what the, you know, short-term money is pretty high, but long-term money is, because there's anticipation rates are gonna start dropping, so. When I talked to her 2 weeks ago, she said that they're seeing about 3.5 right now. You're gonna be probably closer to 4 on a 30 year. Interest rate. So, what I've included here is some of the other things that we need to be thinking about in the near term, because they're either in our CIP or they're becoming issues that we have to deal with. So, we talked a lot about the water plant projects at the last council meeting, former partners did their presentation. I think we committed to about half of this money, but, coming back either next week, or you haven't heard anything yet, probably June, we're gonna come back with the, you know, if you recall the meeting, they talked about that, and they brought proposals for the reservoir upgrade and the, pump station improvements. They didn't bring the valving and all that proposal yet, so we met with them last week, and, this was last week, something like last week. Time is really all over the place right now, so, but, adding that to it, that gets us up to the 11.4 million on the water plant upgrade, so. And then, one of the last projects in our current CIP is to upgrade the Robinson Industrial Park lift station. And, that's projected cost at $5,444,000. That is to build station that's there is at capacity, and the Robinson Industrial Park is about 50% developed. So it really limits what additional development can go in there. So that's a project that needs to be done. We've been having some discussions with some apartment guys, but they just kind of disappeared. So we negotiated an agreement with them to participate, and I told them before we went any further, I needed a list of cities where they've done other projects, and I needed to see their financials, and I haven't heard from them since. So I don't know if that means anything or not. But I also know they engaged our engineers to do about $40,000 worth of work, and they haven't paid them. So I'm very concerned about their ability to move forward on a project.
Yeah.
So, but the fact is that project's out there, and it's something that if we wanna see the rest of the industrial park to develop, it's something that's gonna have to be addressed in the near future. And
Is
then,
the inadequacy of the lift station down there, the current lift station, is it hindering other businesses from coming in? Or are they seeing that like no other way?
in that area, right now, I mean, we're at capacity at that lift station, because it not only serves the Robinson Industrial Park, but all of the homes in
So they have
Surrey,
other businesses
on the
look
Surrey
at it,
Ridge,
Yeah.
their flows flow there, so.
that have other businesses looked at it and see that it's not up to par yet.
Yeah.
So no, we're not coming here.
Well, if they come in and they want anything more than a break room and restrooms, there's no capacity. So if they need water in their production and they have wastewater, there's no capacity for that. We're pretty much at capacity. I think when the lift station was originally built, it was sized for the industrial park, but then when Mr. Gummel, to develop all that, decided to build a residential neighborhood, he, that, instead of enlarging the lift station, he just took the residential over there and used up all the capacity for the industrial park. Yes. So, so it is definitely a restriction. The apartments we've been talking to, there's those properties there west or south, I guess it's more south of the pilot, there's some 55 acres there. We're looking at wanting to develop, and there's not capacity for that. So really that end of town, down there, nothing else can really come in.
We actually approved that with commercial
Yeah, the rezoning.
retail frontage.
Yeah, we approved the rezoning, but like I said, we had some meetings, and they told us they were gonna send us a whole bunch of stuff, and then we never got that, and then we got the agreement worked out, and I said, I need this information. They may pop back up, but I have concerns if they do, before we commit to anything with them, so. And then, Grove Drive is becoming a significant challenge. I don't know if any of y'all drive Grove Drive very often,
Every day.
but every time it rains, we get a week or two of rain. We got Greg's guys are out there, not Greg, but David's guys are out there for a week to 10 days. They're patching the road from one end to the other, fixing all the
Kate's
the
got
base
some good ones
failures
too around that corner.
and everything out there. So it's becoming problematic,
15,000 square feet, like what,
linear feet.
yeah, like what is that, that's not the entire length of Greg
That's the
Drive,
entire
is it?
length.
That's the
Is
entire
it?
length.
Yeah, that's from Old Robinson.
2 3/4 miles, something like that.
That's from Old Robinson to,
Oh,
that's excluding about 150 feet from the bridge.
Oh,
So, and that is actually proposed as a reclamation, that's not going in and
Tearing it out.
sealing it, that is reclaiming the road, cement stabilizing it, putting 3 inches of asphalt on top of it, so it can handle a little heavier traffic.
Just making it drivable.
yeah, maybe like triple that to
Yeah.
pull it all up and relay it all,
So, well, I mean,
Widen it.
yeah. Yeah.
we can widen it from John Bowden Parkway to Harris Village and then take it over to I-35 for $18 million.
No.
So, and again, 10 years from now, 12 years from now, there may be no value in the tourists to pay for that.
It's
But
crazy.
that road's not gonna last 10 or 12 years. I mean, it is in bad shape now. And then we talked about the bridge is in bad shape. It's load rated, so it's 68,000, so the estimated cost of that is 2,150,000. And then Newland Drive, it's right there with, Craig Drive. 2017, 18, we talked about reconstructing Newland Drive and lowering it, putting a curb and gutter and everything, but the biggest challenge there is Greg's got an 18-inch water line that runs down the middle of the road, that if we lower that road, that 18-inch water line has to be moved. And so you're talking about,
Project.
we're talking really, really huge. You know, it was a challenge back then. All these road costs have doubled since then.
Yeah, did you
And
go back and
so-
look just to make yourself safe?
So what we've done is we've kind of backed up and says, you know, we can't keep kicking the can down the road on some of these roads, just plain words there, just because, the traffic counts are going up. There's too many people driving on these roads and, you know, we're getting to the point we can't keep them, so, you know, they're just some we need to think about it. And we haven't even got in all the other streets yet. They're a few slides down, but these are just things that are a little more. So the other thing on Drarington is available funding. So right now for sewer, we do have $5,511,653 in available sewer funds. We have approximately $10 million in available water funds. We have $432,125 in street funds, and I did count to it. Seems a little different, so. And then the SLFRF funds, those are the COVID funds we received, a couple of years ago. And there is $2.2 million of that left. The $511,653 in the sewer funds are 2019 COs, and the $432,125 in the street COs are 2019 CO money. And if you've seen my emails, we're being audited right now on the 2019 COs, and the attorney we're working with it has said it would be in our best long-term interest to make sure all that money is expended by December 31st of this year.
Say less.
So typically, you're supposed to spend the money within 5 years. Since that issue is being audited, they've strongly recommended that we get that spent. And then of that $10 million in water project money, that's 15 to 16 bonds, so we definitely need to get that money spent, because we're way past due on that. So, and then the SLFRF funds, the COVID funds, at $2,246,700, if that is not committed to a project by December 31st, it has to be spent, it has to be committed to it, it has to be obligated, is the term they use, then we have to send it all back. And we don't get several $1 million handed to us. I've been doing this working for cities for 40 years, it's the first time anybody's ever come along and said, here's $3 million, so we definitely don't want to give it back.
There's gonna be a problem getting it.
Allocated?
No,
Okay.
no, and I'm gonna get into those here in a little bit too, but what I wanted to show you was what we had, we're getting ready to do the bond issue, we're actually gonna have the notice, the resolution for the notice of the CO issue at the special meeting on the 14th, because they need me to give them a dollar amount, and they need to do all this stuff, so. That'll start the ball rolling to actually do the issuance in August, and then we'll get the funding at the end of August. And we're gonna need it by then, because by the agreement, we have to have the sewer line finished by the end of this calendar year, and we have to have John Bowden Parkway finished by June of next year. So we're gonna need that funding. So it's what's called bank qualified, it gets us a little better interest rate. So it limits us at, the most we can get is $10 million. So I just, if we were to issue the CO for that, plus want to issue some for ourselves, that would be $4,985,000. Or if you don't want to issue even the $5 million for the Walmart project, we could take the $800,000 that we need for the sewer line out of the sewer CO funds we already have, and pay for that, not have to borrow that, and then just borrow for the street portion. But, let's get into the next step, then move ahead to some others. I think that's all that I got in there. Let's talk about,
Streets we completed.
let's talk about street project. So this was what I had on the last council agenda that I told you I would put out there because y'all listen all that work and stuff. So basically, we're in a position of, we have to do the CO issuance for the Walmart project related projects, and that is a total of $5,014,352. $847,300 for the sewer line, and $401,6752 for the street. So we issue that amount of debt. Only for that, we can do the interest only. We'd have to help with the payments the first 2 years. You can see the first 2 year projections there. And then Walmart will self-support it after that. We can issue the full 10 million, which will then, it'll pretty much, not quite double that 360, so put it about 720,000 a year will be the debt service payments.
If we issue the 10, that'll cover the cost of the lift station?
No, we already have the money for the lift
We
station.
already have that.
We have the money for the lift station. What that would do is it could potentially cover, if we wanna do something with Great Drive, if we wanna replace the bridge, if we wanna do something with, we could actually do Great Drive, the bridge, and Newland, and still have some money to put towards some other streets. So, but, yeah. It's just, and I'll go into the other street stuff, so you go back to our original, some of you weren't on the council then, but, so in 2017, 2018, after I was here a year and a half or two, we started working on developing a street program to reconstruct or reclaim existing streets that were on our list of the streets in the worst condition. And so, all of these streets, except the ones in purple, are on the original list. And all the streets in blue have been completed. And that's why we only have $400 and something thousand left in the street CO money, because we have either reconstructed or reclaimed all the streets listed in blue. In addition, you all approved a few months ago to go ahead and reclaim those streets in purple, since we just torn them all up, put new water lines in. So that gets us to where we have that remaining 400,000 plus of street CO money left. Streets that are still remaining on that program over there on the right, which includes Newland, just a portion of Newland. Some of those are reclamations. Carl's is a reconstruction because there were a lot of serious drainage issues, so that's a pretty expensive project. San Benito and Santa Ana, there's a lot of curb and gutter has to be ripped out there towards the lower end especially. And,
What year did the street program start?
we did our first projects in the 2017 project started in 2018, and the 2018 project started in 19 and 20. So, because they got named on the year we planned them, not the year we actually started construction. So we actually started construction on the first ones in 2018. And you can throw COVID in the middle of this,
Oh,
which
yeah.
created some real challenges and part of that. And then, of course, the prices after COVID basically doubled on us. But all those streets have been, and, let's see, Dennison, Lou, Meadowbrook, Brewster, Waverly, Elizabeth, Peggy, Dogwood, Carnes, Betsy, Margaret, and Susan, they all had
On there.
extensive curb and gutter replacement, new drainage systems, new water lines, new sewer lines. A lot of those streets had new water lines put in also.
And material nightmare.
So those were all, and we do have these other streets remaining, and I've gotta get cost updates on those, because I'm sure they've doubled from our original numbers were on those. But,
Well, that may continue to deteriorate.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, if one of y'all could get real friendly with a billionaire, get him to write us a check.
Try
I
all
mean,
the.
we don't even need, you know, we were talking about this recently, when we first started this program, we had, and this wasn't all the streets, this was just like the first phase of the streets we were trying to knock out. But engineers had projected that to do all the streets that needed to be done, it was gonna be about $30 million. And so we've knocked out about $11 million worth of those projects, and there's probably still about $40 million worth of street work that needs to be done. I don't know how,
How that works.
it's just, that remaining 20 million is basically doubled. And so that's why, you know, I think part of what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to step back and regroup a little bit. And some of these streets that, like Newland, the long term to reconstruct, I just don't think that's feasible. I think we can reclaim a street like Newland, grind it down, stabilize it, put a little more asphalt on it, and get a road that'll last another 20, 25 years. Maybe they'll discover gold or oil or gas or something like a Robinson, and there'll be lots of money for it. Or maybe we'll grow to the full 32 square miles and we'll have this huge tax base and we'll be there, but.
I like the way you're thinking right now.
But yeah, but in the short term, you know, if we're gonna say we're gonna wait till we do Newland, or we're gonna wait to do, Gregg, or we're gonna wait to do, even Old Road, we gotta do something with Old Road, there's some sections of Old Road that, it was pretty much all redone in 2011.
They did it in sections, but yeah.
Or
probably
sections
about-
of it, yeah.
Yeah, we did all of it, but it was in different years.
Right. But so most of Old Road is just coming up on 20 years in the next few years, and you see what condition it's in. So, something needs to be done there, but, you know, we have all these collectors, or, I think all of our arterials are TxDOT roads, we have all these collectors in our city that are getting in worse and worse shape, and they're the roads that have the most traffic on them. And what we've done, you know, we've knocked a lot of roads off that list in the last few years, but most of those roads are just neighborhood streets. And we've not done anything with the collectors where everybody's driving. And so, you know, I think at some point we have to step back and say, and again, we have this plan in the long term through the TERS to construct the connection from 35 to Gregg, and there's actually a developer with some property there that might be willing to kick in a little bit for part of that project. If the TERS can create some increment, we'll be in a position in a few years to do. But if we go ahead and do something with Gregg, that would take some of the pressure off of that. And, you know, in the future, when the funding is available, come back and do that section from John Bowden to the connection for 35.
Who's the developer that, is one of the developers that might contribute?
I haven't had that meeting yet. All I've been told is that there's somebody interested in lots of money.
And why would they contribute?
Because they own a piece of property there that has a little bit narrow frontage on the highway, but if the road went this way, they'd have a big, huge frontage on the main road. So,
What type of development?
probably commercial retail. It would definitely be something that they're gonna make more money than they're gonna, your businessman, you don't spend money, lose money, so if they're interested in spending money on it, it's something they think they can make money on.
Where is it located, which property?
It's, you know where the highway loops under I-35, down there by the cemetery?
Yes.
That's where the property's located down there. And what we've talked about is Waco is gonna extend Gateway on the other side to connect there, and that we've talked about is coming off of Gregg and connecting there. Because trucks can't go down Gregg and really make that turn back onto the highway. That curve with the cemetery there is, it's not really negotiable going that direction. So if the Robinson, business park fully develops, we need that alternate truck route. So the plan we had in the long term was to widen that section from John Bowden Parkway to that connection, widen up the truck traffic, and then the rest of it would just remain two-lane to discourage the truck traffic from going on the old road or trying to go down and negotiate that. Of course, they can always wind through the industrial park and go down Industrial Park Boulevard and down, I don't know, what's that first street?
Power Star.
Power Star, yeah. Go on Robinson Inn and McDonald's and come out.
Robinson Inn.
So, but, that's, you know, and then we have some other streets, I just kinda threw these in there, just, so you can see what we've been working on the last few years. We get so busy, we kinda lose sight of everything, but, unless I'm say you wanna say it.
Haven't done any.
Actually, I have a big long list, but when I saved this file, I got an error and I had to resave it, and then I lost it when I did that. But there's a pretty long list of overlaid streets and stuff, but I'll have to email that to you, because those two do make it. Same thing with chip seal or reclaim and chip seal.
All of the overlays.
The ones that need it, need it. This one.
Yeah.
So these are streets, again, we're kind of looking short term, they're in need of reclaim or chip seal. Times is being done as we speak. I was hoping it'd be done by now, but the rain kind of slowed them down, they have to go back and rework it. But hopefully in the next 2 weeks' time will be finished, but, we have Berry slated for next year. And this is based on the county, the first two are based on the county doing Berry and Hillside. And I did push the price, so they're at 11 a foot now. Is what they're charging. I think that was in the Times, $11 a foot.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I went in and pushed it up to 12 because I figured they would come back and raise it. But, so 91.5, and this comes out of the annual street maintenance budget. We don't use bond money for this because the chip seal streets typically only last 5 to 7 years, so they don't want to use 20-year bond money for those. But, Hillside is 175, 500. And I don't know if the county would do it all in 1 year. What are your thoughts? I mean, we're 2 plus almost 3 miles.
Which one? The Hillside?
Yeah.
Almost 3 miles?
Yeah. I know they'll do Berry all 1 year. I think they'll do it, but I don't know if they'll do Hillside. The problem is, I don't know if Hillside's gonna make 3 more years.
I'm sure they would do Berry, but just over,
Didn't they agree to do a mile a year?
right.
So obviously the 3 mile would
Yeah.
not work.
They said a mile, but we've had them do a mile and a third, almost a mile. How long was Cooksey?
Yeah, it's like 1.1.
Yeah. We've had them go a little over a mile.
Barely, you know.
But, yeah, what they won't do is they won't commit to bigger projects, because they have multiple cities and then their own roads to do, so. But, and then David's got planned for this year and next year. This year's gonna be Donlow, the dead end of Willard, and also the dead end of Peggy Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't on your list, but then Conine.
We pick up a few strays as we go.
And then Karen or Corone.
The county only is saying they're only gonna do so much because of personnel,
Time.
time. So they have the personnel, they just don't have the time to get it done. Yeah, so they need more personnel and more equipment to do it, right?
Yeah.
So they're doing work for other cities, right? Why don't we as other cities group together still be on the city.
I mean, the only thing Dustin told me was by the time they do everybody else, there's not enough time to do their own streets.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is, the county's in the same position we are, they got a budget every year. If they had a contract with cities that says, okay, we're getting this funding every year, they can increase their personnel and their resources.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what we talked to Commissioner Smith about, because I think we would be willing, I mean, we can plan out the roads we need chip seal
Yeah, so
5 or
it'd be-
7 years
it'd be
in advance.
interesting to
We
see
can
like-
say, we'll do this much every year.
So I wonder if that's a county, all precinct rule, or is it per precinct?
Usually the precincts do their own thing, it's been my experience. It depends on what their budget is, it's depending where the precincts are and those kind of things, but, yeah, we may sit down with commissioners, because I think, I don't know how many other cities he does work for, but we could commit to,
A bit.
if they could do more, we could commit to more.
Right. Yeah, especially if we're on the plan of 3 to 5 years.
Marina, I don't know what other cities
Yeah,
would be.
probably
It's
just
going
be
to
us
be a
and Marina
reoccurring.
though.
What's that?
It would probably just be us and Marina in this precinct.
Well, I'll give you.
But- And I don't know how much Lorena, I mean, Lorena's, they're pretty limited budget, they're pretty small, have pretty small, sales tax base, so, but,
And outside of Hillside and Berry, you've got Sapples.
yeah, these are just the most immediate.
Yeah, well,
I mean, we have Sapples and.
There's not that many rural streets left.
I'm not sure this would be feasible, just a thought. I've not driven down Hillside in a long time, worked with it. But I'm saying that if there are, would they have to necessarily do a 1 mile continuous strip, or could they do sections and make it a mile in the worst areas? Is that a feasibility, possibility? Say you have this.
I think
really
most
bad
of Hillside,
section. Pardon?
I think most of Hillside needs to be done.
Well, true.
Yeah. I
know
mean, I don't know that there's, I'll let David speak to that. So one of the challenges we have with Hillside is actually the same problem we have with Greg, is during the, winter event in 21, the Snowmageddon, it got so cold and with the moisture that all the existing chip seal on those 2 roads let go. We lost it, it just came up. The emulsion basically broke down and all the rock came loose. So we went back and re-chip sealed both of those roads. To try to at least get them to last a bit longer, because without chip sealing, they would have just immediately that spring in the rain start coming apart, so. So it's, I think the city redid that in 15, 14? What's one of the first ones they did, Hillside Limit? And the city program,
That was, Miles Bay.
14 maybe?
Yeah.
So,
That was pre-Craig, we'll put it that way.
yes, yeah. But, I mean, that's the thing with chip seal, is you got, I mean, the county, their approach with their chip seal program is they pretty much hit all their roads every 3 years. They just come back, rework them and re-chip seal, and they don't do anything, they don't mix anything with the base or anything, they just rework the existing base, they reclaim it, recompact it, and put a new chip seal on.
They're building disposable roads.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. But, and the challenge for us on this is like Barry, I mean, that's a long road, and, I mean, as roads go, $12 a linear foot isn't, the reclamation for just what I projected on Newland, that's $150 a linear foot. To do it, put in cement and, asphalt it, so. But the 91.5 for Barry, I think there's 5 homes on Barry. So, but they are rural roads, they are our streets, and we do have to maintain them, so. And Barry was so bad that David's guys had to go out and put flex base pretty much the entire length of it this year to get it, keep it drivable for another year.
When they start on Hillside, are they gonna start at Rosenthal or start at Lemon?
Well, no, it's up to us.
I mean, if they phase it out.
If they're only gonna do, they're gonna phase it, we would have them start where some of our shade. We're gonna have to phase it. Whatever area is the
Which is
worst.
why I mentioned doing it in areas that are the worst. If you have a quarter mile here that's worse, do that. Do a quarter mile there that's worse. I mean, it's better than taking a stretch and saying, okay, we're just gonna do a solid mile, whether it's the worst area or not. Maybe part of that's the worst. Just to make sense to me, to piecemeal it, we have to,
I think
in
the
the worst
problem,
areas.
the problem you're running with that is when you come back and do the rest, every place you connect, those are areas that over time are gonna start to fail because you don't have a continuous surface, you have a jointed surface.
So start and stop somewhere.
So, yeah. I mean, I think you take the worst, you know, if they're only gonna do a mile, you take the worst mile and you do it, but I think it would be hard. I think the county would probably balk if we tried to get them to break, do 8 or 9 spots on hillside. The other thing is, I can tell you, we're gonna hear a lot about it. If we do in front of these 3 houses, and then skip 2 houses, and in front of these 3, these people are gonna all iron. And we already get that, no matter what we do.
They're not gonna like it, they're gonna
Yeah.
do the whole thing anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, whoever street we do, everybody else doesn't like it, so their street's not on there, but all of this comes out of the annual street maintenance budget, which I think we got up to, what are we up to this year, 6, we're over 6, aren't we?
Yeah, like almost, what was it, 7 something? 680?
Yeah, 670 maybe, so, but it's still not enough. It's better than the 58,000 we had back in 2016, so. But one of the things we have talked about, and I don't have a slide for this, is David and I have talked about, and I've talked about with engineers, is creating some kind of a reclamation program where we can go into some of these streets that, especially the collectors and things that need to be reclaimed over time. And there's no reason that these all have to be completely engineered or anything if all we're gonna do is reclaim them. And a lot of these roads like East Moonlight, Sapples, Stegall, a lot of those roads, they would be candidates for an actual reclamation where we went in and reclaimed the roads, put asphalt instead of chip seal because they are seeing higher and higher volumes of traffic. We can, with the engineers, create a manual of how they're gonna be done. We can go in and randomly, when we pick projects, we go in and do a few cores here and there to figure out how much cement to stabilize them. And we can bid those out because those are considered maintenance. They're not construction, and so therefore they're following the rules that they have to be stamped by an engineer and all that kind of stuff, so. But that would just mean tearing up the existing road surface and putting a new road surface down. Same width, we wouldn't be able to widen them or things like that. But I think we really have to start considering that going forward, because like I said, the cost of reconstruction is just going through the roof. We can't achieve the mayor's first thing of trying to keep the tax burden lower on the residents and be able to go in and spend. I mean, when we redid Denison in 20, we lowered that, we put in curb and gutter, and we did all that, and I think that road alone was almost $1 million, and we'd be probably over 2 now. We went in and did that same thing. So, it's just something we've got to think about. So David and I have talked about, and based on the current estimated costs and stuff, we could do, we could do about 0.6 of a mile for every $500,000.
Are we not doing it that way now, like when we reclaim a road, we have to be, engineer
curbs, we're updating the drain.
Right, and the difference would be then you reclaim it, then you don't need an engineer, is what you're saying?
Right, if we're doing just a straight reclamation, and I go back, so, the city I was at before, we had a street maintenance sales tax, God willing, I would say it was not quite $500,000 a year, but we also had the county up there, Tarrant County, their county crews to do reclaiming, and they could do asphalt, they could do that in asphalt. And we would go in and take the existing, even some of our curb and gutter streets that were asphalt, we would reclaim the street because the curb and gutters were fine.
Right,
But a lot of the rural section roads, like we have here with the open ditches, or in some cases, no ditches,
right,
we would just go in and and they would charge us $1 for the labor and then the cost of materials. And we would put 6 inches of asphalt on those roads,
Yeah.
4 to 6 inches of asphalt on those roads.
and then how long does that last? Is that what usually lasts 5 years, is that what you're saying?
I was city manager for 12, and they were all,
Still
when I
good?
left there, they were all, as long as you crack seal them and maintain them, they were all still in good condition,
No.
so. Now, there's some challenges here we didn't have up there with the clays, the ground thing was a
Yeah.
lot more, so. But yeah, it's just, with some of these streets, we're not gonna ever get to them, and we've gotta start thinking about doing something. And I'm not saying we're gonna come up with a plan tonight or this budget, but we have to think about, what can we do going forward? Now, we can, a reclaimed road with proper maintenance should last 20 years. So I would not say that you can't use bond money for that. Chip seal, no, you don't want to use that, but any roads that we wanna, any of these higher traffic roads that are still old chip seal roads that need to be upgraded, they may be candidates for reclamation.
Yeah.
And if we come up, and that's what we did in my last city, we basically had a manual, we would do the geotag, determine the cement percentage, and then we just had a standard bid form, we plugged the roof. Now, if the county did it, we didn't have to do it, but half our city was in Parker County, so we had to bid those streets. And we would just put it out, and we'd get 3 or 4 companies and submit a bid, and we'd go for low bid. They'd usually come in and take them 2.5, 3 weeks to do whatever roads went on it that year, and we move off. We do, again, things were cheaper back then, so.
Do we supervise that, like, if when we go out to bid and we have, we pick a low contractor, do we supervise them?
Yes, we would
Yeah.
have to, we would have to oversee it,
Save a lot of money.
Yeah,
yeah.
go driving by real slow.
My problem is with the 700,000, out of that, I can't spend all that on reclaim. I have to do some micro surface, I can't ignore the good streets.
Right.
I have to spend some on curb and gutter, I have to spend some on drainage, I have to spend some on crack sealing. So it's spread out, there's not enough money,
It's a vicious
like
cycle.
Craig and I was talking, to even attract a contractor to do chip sealing
Yeah.
for me, it's just chump change.
Yeah,
When you throw in, $10 million CO money or even spread out, then you draw a contractor in, then I can piggyback off of that
right, make it worth it.
and get the reclamation that I need out of our smaller streets.
And we've done some things like that, like we overlaid Peplo. Peplo was in good shape, it just needed a new overlay. And H&B was doing all those streets over there, and so we did a change order with H&B, and they pulled off for a couple of days, and they come over there and they overlaid the street. And we didn't have to pay mobilization, we didn't have to pay all that.
Yeah.
It was an affordable way to get it overlaid. And we have a lot of streets that would be candidates for overlay, but again, our budget doesn't really, the micro sealing and micro surfacing seem to be working pretty good. The streets we've done that on is held up, because that's north and south Cedar Ridge, Cedar Breaks, Watoma, all those, we done all the streets over on that side now? Watoma and
All the
Remington
three,
and all those, everything.
then
out
all
there.
the three.
And then we've done all the outer streets on the other side in Chapman.
Chapman Edition.
And then we did Shadow and Baker and Andrews. So driven any of those streets, they're in a lot better shape than they were 2 or 3 years ago.
For sure.
Yeah, I know those streets.
So that's an affordable way, but the street itself has to be in reasonably decent shape. You
Right.
can't really do that on, like, that would not be a
Greg.
good thing to do on Greg
Yeah.
or Newland or any of those. But the residential streets, and that, just doing that gives us another 7, 8 years life on
sure.
an existing street. Those of you who were on the council at the time when Clark was civil engineering, we used to have this, he had this graph we show every time we talk about streets, about you build a street and you go out, you know, and it starts dropping off after about 5 years. But if you do certain maintenance, that level line stays flatter, and you can push that out to that 20 years, whereas if you build and don't do anything, about 7 or 8 years in, it starts going down. So you can push a street well past the 20-year life with proper maintenance. So
I can
that's-
attest to that because I live between Chapel and Baker, and the maintenance we've done on Baker, especially in Chapel, that paid off huge, yeah, that's made a big
Yeah,
difference.
back in the day, we would have chip sealed those streets.
Mm-hmm.
And people, they just don't like chip seal.
Oh, yeah.
Got those little rocks in.
Rocks everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, we have streets that with our last street program, we took out asphalt streets and replaced them with chip seal. And then Valley View, Adrian, all those streets we just did, those were all originally asphalt streets, and we reclaimed them and put chip seal in. Took the asphalt streets out and no complaints. Well, I've heard all kinds of things.
Yeah, I was like, wait, really?
Especially the people in Adrian. Well, even Valley View, they got grass about that thick growing down the street between the curb and it's just the ship set for the hard to swallow. You come up through.
In there, and you had asphalt, and you got chip seal,
Yeah.
it's get complaint on that.
I
I
don't
don't make rat chip seal, I make rat all in the pot.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we'd be better off with that asphalt than the new chip seal. Chip seal looks nice for,
How did we do that then? How did we pull it up? The asphalt, but
it
chip
was
seal.
cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to come up with something that was,
Alternative route.
Well, in that case, the asphalt was dug up because of the replacement of the lines, correct, the sewer lines and water line, so the street
I
had.
don't
to
think
be-
all of them are.
Right, so it had to be redone, it was something, asphalt wasn't feasible.
Were those the ones that bought them?
Yeah.
Just the way.
Oh, that was to try to stretch the dollar and do all that.
Yeah, it was just trying to stretch the dollar as far as they could, which, I mean, I understand that. You try to do what you have to work with, but
Can you overlay, like, if you end up having a problem on the chip seal area, can you overlay that with a different material?
I think you microsealed any chip seal streets?
Yeah.
Microsurface? Yeah, we've microsurfaced a few chip seal streets, it's
The
sort of.
base is good.
Which I,
If the base is good.
You
so
can
for
even
maintenance
put
purposes,
asphalt.
I just thinking forward, you know, for maintenance purposes, obviously that new, now it's pretty new over on Adrian and those streets, but as time goes on, we could resurface those with something.
With what y'all did on Christie Street, be considered an overlay?
Adrian and all those are asphalt.
No, that was just a.
That's not microsurface, that's asphalt.
What were you saying earlier that, Craig, that we redid, they were asphalt, or we might chip seal?
Yeah, my predecessor, to try to get more streets done, they took out the asphalt, replaced it with chip seal.
Correct. We were talking about previous, yeah, yes, I was.
Yeah, 'cause we also used 20-year bond money to do it. We used 20-year bond money to do it. And most of the streets have already had to be redone, so. So that's what we don't wanna do, we don't wanna use 20-year money to try to do this, but we're just looking at how can we squeeze more out of dollars that we don't have. And having to figure out how we're gonna come up with those dollars. You know, street maintenance sales tax would be great, but there's no sales tax left for us to go out and utilize because we haven't 1 full cent of our sales tax here in Robinson goes to lower property taxes. Whereas my last city, we didn't have any sales tax, lower property taxes. We had 1 cent for the city, 1/4 cent went to the crime control prevention district, 1/4 cent went to the municipal development district, and 1/2 cent went to street maintenance.
Is that good allocations?
But here, because the county has a 1/2 cent, the city has a 1/2 cent. 50% of the sales tax that's collected in the city goes to lower property tax. So we don't, that's the downside of having those, and to eliminate those, the voters have to vote to eliminate it. And that's not gonna happen, so we have to figure out,
Don't even know what's happening.
if you followed Waco, they were flirting with a street maintenance fee that they
How'd
were
that go?
talking about doing, and, they had one for residences that I didn't think was too burdensome, but when they started talking about what they were gonna hit the businesses with, that got everybody, and that, the council kinda shut that down pretty quick, and I don't know if they're gonna bring that one back anytime soon, because that one got pretty heated, but I think there were some businesses, I think for most residences, it was gonna be somewhere around $7 to $9 a month, but there were businesses that they were talking about thousands a month depending on the business.
Bad time to propose anything like that.
Yeah. With the caps and all the other stuff, and the pressure on property taxes, trying to figure out how to pay for stuff is the challenge. So, but I wanna go back and talk about all this. I'll just so we can go away. Let's see. So, back to the original situation, so that we're going to, on the 14th of that special meeting, we're gonna have to do the resolution to basically order the publication of the notice and everything for the debt issuance. And, we can go ahead and do that up to the 10 million. You're not obligated at that point. You can, the problem is by then I'm not going to know where the monies are gonna be and the tax rate potentials and everything are. But the way it works is once you publish the notice, that becomes the maximum you can issue. You can always issue less. So my suggestion is we go ahead and publish the notice for the 10 million, give us the flexibility. The actual sale will be the first week of August, the council meeting in August. So at that point, you'll have to decide how much you want to issue. And by then, you'll actually have a proposed budget for next year. We'll have the tax rate set and all the other stuff, so you can see what kind of impact it would have if you do the 10 versus just doing the debt for the Robinson Business Park projects.
Better to ask for too much and not need it, but
Depending on the rate, so it depends if Jennifer comes back and has an idea on what rates will do or so.
Well, like I said,
Because we could issue again when?
next year, but
We
we're,
could wait a year?
yeah, I mean, typically when we do the bank qualified, it's 10 million a year. So, but we are gonna probably have to issue more water money. Not probably, we're gonna have to issue more water money, because right now it's, if you look up there, the plant projects are about 11.4, and I thought we had more than that, but I hadn't factored in the money for, the current water project, so we're gonna be down around, 10 million water money available. So, but we've still got the plant upgrade too, that we're gonna have to do. And again, we'll be factoring in, we still have to issue the debt, but some of that Lorena's gonna pay for, because we have built into the current Lorena rate, any improvements we make for the existing stuff to serve our current plant, which almost all these improvements are just the deal what we currently have. They'll just pay a portion of that, so. So we'll have that factored into that, but once we do when we do the plant upgrade, we'll have to enter into a second contract with them for that additional water, and they'll get paid for it. They're probably, what are we looking at, 35% of capacity, 40%, so they'll get to pick up 35, 40% of that if they want that capacity at the time. So when I put these numbers, it's not 100% of anything related to water, it's not 100% we're gonna have to pay for it. Lorena's gonna help pay for that, but, and so a lot of that's already built into the rates.
Now, with the Lorena contract, is that yearly or do we do about 10 years at a time?
The Lorena contract, we currently have 25 years to treat their water for them. So. And, the original 25-year contract expired 5 years ago? Took us like 3 years to get a new contract. We were doing just temporary contracts until then, but the original contract, was only for the cost of treating the water. We did not charge them anything for the cost of getting the water from our plant over on, there at Newland and 12th Street to the connection, which is over by, Surrey Ridge. We didn't have anything, so when we did the new contract, we incorporated those costs into it. I think they were like 35, 38%, something like that. Their cost to us did, so. But, we have built into that contract for passing on costs. These payment improvements.
Are we actually breaking even on that contract, or are we making a profit on what we're doing for it?
Not really, no, because we're not selling them water, we're treating their water. So, I mean, there's a little bit in there, there's some administrative percentages stuff built into it.
But the huge benefit is that their permit at that time allowed us to draw their water when we didn't need to give them water, right? So we could
That's
fill
correct.
our reservoir. So,
Yeah, under our
a
old,
big help as to why we weren't in such hard restrictions, and we were just following along, being good stewards versus need.
yeah, cause before we got those Brazos, contract water rights, late last year, there were certain times of year we could not pull water out of the river under our permit, or under our rights, but we could pull theirs every time, so.
At that last meeting, I was impressed with the confidence that our engineering firm seemed to have in our position. He said he hadn't seen a city our size that had the strength or the availability to watch what we do.
And we're,
Control of our own water.
we're in a pretty good position.
Somewhere.
We're in a pretty good position right now, which is where you wanna be. You don't wanna be dependent on everybody else. Like Lorraine is pretty much dependent on us.
When
I mean,
does
they
our-
have the water, but they have no way to get it out of the river and treat it, so.
When does our contract with Waco run out? Because it mentioned that they probably won't renew it because they're hurting so bad.
Wasn't it close to 40 years, 35 or 40, but it was 2013 or so.
I would think it was 35.
Yeah.
So they're kind of locked in, you're saying, for maybe another 30 years.
Well, it was 2013, so probably another 25,
Yeah.
24 years on that contract. I have to go back and look at it, but I've seen, I think we'll call 35 years.
You know, at what point would you suggest, I guess, the engineers would help us figure that out, that we would renegotiate prior to?
Well, they don't want to,
I'm
they
sure
have made it
no.
clear they're not, they want the water back.
It's the end of the road after 25 years,
Yeah,
as
they,
far as they're concerned.
yeah, they,
They regret making the contract, but that was,
yes,
what you're saying?
yes, they're now short on water.
Would it help us if we could come into an agreement with Waco to just end the contract? After we get the,
After we get all the other stuff done, I don't, I mean, it's nice to have water you've got. You don't wanna give up water you
Especially when you're trying to attract some businesses in.
Would it help in negotiations for them in the future if we sold them some back, let's say, if they needed, we didn't, is that?
We've already
thought?
we've had conversations with them. They have decided to go off on their own and do their own thing.
Now, was it,
Currently.
did y'all
And that may
treat their
change,
water or
but-
something?
I don't know if you read the paper, there's been a lot of stuff in there. I think it was Saturday, there was an article today where they're talking about, they're having some planning meetings. Well, actually, it was today, it was on the,
EFA,
yeah, on the, those forever chemicals, there's an article in there about that, and they were talking about how there's, some of that's in the Brazos water, and they're talking about, they have river rights, and they're having discussions about building their own intake structure and their own plant to process it and all this different stuff. We sat down with them and said, well, we've already got all that, why don't you partner with us, we'll expand our plant, and they chose not to do that, so.
They want to be in control.
That doesn't sound like Waco.
Yeah, they don't, we had anything to offer, I'm sure, in the long range plan.
Yeah, so, we'll go do our own thing, that's all right. We'll still be here if they come back later and say, hey, what you thought about what you said?
Our prices go
Especially
up.
when they start processing what RO systems cost. I don't know how far along they've gotten in that process yet, but yeah, so, one of the things we've got to make a decision on is the COVID fund. So we don't have to do it tonight, but we have to do it.
What's that again, Craig, or what? Say it again.
The SL.
One of
I
the
didn't
things we
hear
have to make a decision on are those SLFRF funds. That's the COVID funds we received a couple of years ago. So the original plan was to use about half of that money to do that drainage work in the Robinson Industrial Park. But we have several property owners that there's no way we're gonna have easements in place by December 31st in order to have that contract let and signed. And so we're gonna put that money at risk. So you probably need to repurpose it and do something else with it.
We have an option to do that, to repurpose it.
Yes, we can spend, when they first sent the money, they had all these really strict rules and everybody saying, that money's really nice, but we really don't need it for these things. So they came out with a thing and said, if you're under 250,000 people and you got less than, if you're under 250,000 people, you can take up to 10 million and just say, it replaces lost revenue and you can do whatever you want with it. So that's what we chose to do with it. So we purchased the new fire engine with 830,000 of that. And so we had that left. That's why I kind of threw in the bridge and the grade drive and all that stuff. And we don't have enough to do the bridge. We can't do grade drive unless we do part of the industrial park lift station. Because part of the industrial lift station project includes running a new force main from, like I said, from the end of, if you go down Sun Valley to where it dead ends, there's a lift station down there now. It's putting in a new one right next to it, bringing a whole new force main. We would actually go east around the industrial park, come up, get over to Gregg by our elevated tank, and then go down Gregg with a force main to just past the top of Hamilton Heights there, the hill, the road, and then do a upside gravity line from there to Flat Creek. So the portion that we would want to put in the road, we would need to replace that sewer line first. We don't want to go in there and reclaim the road and put in the nice asphalt riding surface and then come back to the trees down in the road. So those we have to time together. And we can do that. And then, like I said, we also, the Gregg Bridge, the Gregg Drive Bridge needs to be replaced, and it's there, so. And again, you don't have to make a decision tonight, but I just want you to start thinking about that, but
How much will the bridge, is the estimate on the bridge?
$2,150,000.
So actually, that's engineering's cost, I would just look to just go ahead and dedicate that to the bridge. That's really critical to Gregg Drive. And it really is. Anything you do to either side of it is gonna be a benefit, but that bridge really needs it. That's a priority. That's the big one. And it's not gonna cost any less down the line, that's for
No,
sure.
it's gonna cost more.
If we could buy them and shoot for that right now, I would go ahead and do it. That's just my opinion.
know there was some concern when we discussed with the Walmart project about if we replace the bridge, we encouraging truck traffic on Gregg. Because, you know, even if it did encourage it, it wouldn't encourage it for very long. Because the road would not be in very good shape for a very short period of time, but that's why I think, like I said, there's plans in the long term to do something with a section of Gregg Drive, but that's not gonna happen anytime in the very near future. And I think that connection to 35 is gonna be more important than the section from John Bowden Parkway to that connection.
Is it permissible now, Greg, for any size truck to go down Gregg Drive?
I don't know if it's on our ordinance or not. I don't know if it's, I mean,
Because some
they
streets
can't
say-
cross the bridge is
They're just
load rated at 68,000 pounds.
Therefore, should there be signs up saying
They say, their signs say,
there are?
yep,
So that's to prohibit, not just discourage, but prohibit certain size trucks from traveling down, because that is going to, if they do, it's gonna wear it out even.
well, if they do, they may end up in the creek.
True.
Not so much the size, it's the gross weight.
Yeah, yeah, it's the gross weight, but, yeah, I don't know, I mean, a lot of our streets we have ordinances where they're not truck routes, but I don't know if Gregg is one of them. Like I said, Gregg is a collector, he needs to be able to handle a lot more traffic than he can.
Gregg's not marked as a truck route, or truck restricted.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
It's not.
I know when we had
Should
that
it
major wreck, there was they had 18-wheelers going down it or trying.
Yeah, I know, they get off the highway.
Should we have a sign that says no trucks, like I've seen on many roads with.
Enter at your own risk.
Just no
It might
trucks.
not hurt to get a sign further up the road that says the bridge. There may be a sign further up the road that says the bridge.
I don't remember.
Because typically with a load restricted bridge, you'll have a sign further up the road to let you know it's there, but,
There's signs on that portion, I see them, like signs in a white background, black lettering that warn about the load, there's things going for a certain way.
okay. Yeah, I know right before the bridge they have a sign, but I haven't paid that much attention, but, yeah, I mean, the trucks can go down Gregg and go up Hoffmeyer. Again, they don't normally do that, but trucks have to be able to make deliveries in those neighborhoods and stuff, so. But one of the problems we get into is if they close 35 for an accident, people get off the highway and find their own routes, and they don't care about signs and stuff.
100%.
I mean, I'm not talking about UPS or FedEx or those type of delivery trucks, I'm talking about trucks that wouldn't be delivered to anything on Gregg Drive. Or wouldn't have a reason to be.
Yeah, we can look at that until we do something with it. But that's what it is. Everybody comfortable with the bringing the notes back at the 10 million in 2 weeks? The resolution?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, they're asked for it, not needed.
Like I said, before you have to actually vote to pull the trigger on it, and we'll know what kind of impact it will potentially have. So, but in the meantime, if we decide not to issue anymore, we do have to spend that other $432,000, which shouldn't be a problem. We should be able to do that.
Spending money is not a problem.
No, it's having enough money to spend.
There's an oil, there's no way.
Yeah, that's why I said, if one of y'all could become friends with an Elon Musk and just ask him if he has a spending money that day, we could probably fix all this.
Chump change.
Just as
Well, our
long-
buddy that put in the new metal finishing business knows him personally because he's doing work for him.
That's right, he does.
So, maybe we could talk to Ken.
I wouldn't talk to
See if
Elon
he
now,
can
he's
give us-
just laid off a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, 14,000.
Yeah, he's having a little bit of
He's having some
issues.
trust
His
issues.
Cybertrucks aren't doing well.
I understand.
But
Again, doing needs some work.
Yep.
Yes, it does.
Well,
That's
those are
highway.
just the first of many. Old Road needs work,
Strauss over here
Steedall
needs
needs
work.
work, Strauss needs work.
Strauss should be blown up.
Newland's been bad for a long, long time.
Yeah, it has. Golden and Gregg, those are the two really tough connector streets in the city right now.
They have a lot of traffic. You guys got counters? It wouldn't hurt to get some recent counts on those roads.
Which one's on?
Well,
Traffic.
I'll hit my-
Don't do Newland till they finish the project.
Greg's got the speed trap on Greg right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of that project, how's that coming along?
We hope the last day of the road closure will be Thursday.
What they doing, Greg? Exactly what are they replacing?
Everything.
We've got some bad water line through there, and it's in an area where there's a lot of existing utilities. It's really making a chore to get that new line installed. They're dealing with a lot of fiber optic phone cables. That Newland Drive is a thoroughfare for utilities too. It's one of the rare roads that go that direction, so everybody uses the utility wise.
Tedious work, isn't it? We're not doing that, we contracted it out.
That's correct, yes.
Good thing.
They're gonna be done Thursday, you said?
That's the current goal, if nothing
Yeah,
changes.
depends on where it's on. I think it's supposed to rain again.
With-
They won't be
Right.
through, we should be through close to the intersection. We still have some work to do there.
Yeah, they won't be through working, but they should be done. I mean, they may have to come back and close it, half of it to repave it and all that when they're done, but they should be done with the
Stopping at
all
the
day
railroad
closure.
every day and buy a piece of gum.
Every time I go by, there's a blockage and a big pipe being held up in the air by 2 or 3 pieces of equipment. I'm saying, well, that looks wonderful. The same
You know, if they
thing
could add
yesterday and
another-
the day before.
If they could add another month to it, you'd have your laser fish money.
Electronic.
They have been running a lot of citations for people cutting through the parking lots.
Can I get a get out of jail free card?
We showed a lot of photos once on those people.
Okay, okay, yeah. What about people turning illegally out of Taco Bell? I haven't done it personally, but I've seen people do
Oh,
it.
I saw 2 in a row the other day.
We've had a little bit of business there, but we're not there
Hmm.
often enough to
That's good, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bushes, I think, Bushes.
Yes,
Restaurants, McDonald's.
I mean, I would do
Yeah,
that.
it's hard to watch too.
All that sort of
Nobody's
thing.
coming to realize
They Taco Bell gives them no place to turn around. They gotta go to the shoot down Bennington.
That way you gotta go right. and then-
Yeah, it's supposed to be right turn only out.
Yeah, I mean, I always do that.
So how much is a ticket?
I don't know. For about
Just wanted to
Let's
know.
start.
Just in case.
Or if I get a ticket.
Early.
Until I clear the curb.
I think you guys were lenient with that, no, I mean, just as a citizen, that would be my preference.
City council, that's too bad. We need a new vehicle.
I didn't say that, did I say that? I think you did.
Where's our speed trap sign moving next? From Greg, where's it going now?
Speed trap, where's my speed trap?
What do you call it then?
Speed trap?
What is it called then?
Speed trailers.
Speed trailers, speed
Speed
trap,
bumps.
super close.
It's
It's
a
a.
visible deterrent.
Yeah.
You know, Rosebud has its sign that says speed trap ahead, you know, somebody put that on their property, on the right.
So
If you're going into Rosebud, you'll
That
see
is
it,
hilarious.
speed trap ahead.
I would do
You
that.
still speed through
Been there
there?
for years.
It's been there a long
I've
time.
got a friend of mine that, well, my friend of
Speed
my mom and
trap
dad's
ahead.
drove for Bluebell, and he'd say, yeah, they had this sign that said it was a speed trap, and he just blew through it, got a ticket. And you're like, hey,
Traffic
they
warning.
advertised it for you, and you still
Yeah,
didn't do
yeah.
it.
Traffic warning. That's a friendly neighbor.
What was your first order?
Crazy.
Speaking of, talking about Greg, all this, if none of you have driven down, if you haven't driven down there lately, you ought to drive down there by the Walmart side.
And then yesterday,
Ton of dirt.
a lot
Yeah.
of dirt, well, they got a whole
They did
pile of
that
equipment up
quick.
there now.
Yeah, they got an army out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do.
They, how many, when did they get all that dirt in? Like,
They dug it
They're-
up.
They're removing 40,000 cubic yards of dirt.
Where are they going with it?
it's so elevated.
I wish I could get a couple truckloads for my front
I
yard.
know,
They
right?
have to have
You wouldn't want
berms.
that.
Yeah,
Be out there with
you ever
the.
see my front
You
yard?
really wouldn't
Make it
want
put a
river
berm.
bottom tops.
So,
Yeah.
but the rest of it, I don't know.
Any tops.
That happened
How
quick.
deep is their digging?
You haven't seen my yard.
What are they digging down?
On
10
the,
feet
Can't go
on
grass
the
because they get so much
in-
rain, it washes everything away.
closest to 35, I
That's
think
my
it's on
yard.
a 7-foot rock.
Yeah,
So
so
that
that
would-
is established.
Yes,
I've walked on their grass.
yes, 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 yes.
Oh, it's still off your curb.
Yeah, me too. I've driven along
I think
all
it
that
should
thing a
be
few
so.
times.
Yeah.
Our well was a dig out.
That was the last time I got to
Big
metal.
deal.
You never let me know.
Smart man.
Well, now that's just the side of it. I don't know what they're gonna do for foundations, 'cause they were,
Oh, we're talking about
potentially
recycling.
having to use piers for it, 'cause they were complaining.
Grass
about
will steady
floating
pitch,
off.
but I never had topsoil to start with.
I think with that, they roll out that,
But I think they were looking at some alternatives, so they may do
Yeah.
that even
with
more.
the seeds in it.
I
and-
tried, when I first
That's
moved
just,
in, I had.
that's just the level
Yeah,
of site,
yeah,
It
yeah.
was
was a 7 foot.
right down onto gravel.
You know, we slide.
I was gonna
How
put
many
sod
yards?
on it, but
40
probably
yards.
wash the sod right
Yeah.
now.
7 yards.
Yeah, no 40 yard.
Anything else?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Like I said, I'll bring it back for 10 and
Mhm.
be ready to have some more discussions over the next couple of meetings about the SLFRF things and how
Can you
to
get us
use
a,
those.
can you get us a definite estimate on that? On the bridge?
I already have a desk.
Yeah.
The bridge was originally one of the issues in the Walmart project. That was gonna be part of the incentive. But when they came back and said that they wanted to reserve the right to protest the value down below the number we set, we told them that we can't do the bridge if you do that.
And
We
you're like, okay.
be able to protest, so we have a minimum value set at 59 million for real property. And so that's where that number comes up that was in that previous slide,
Right.
Do we have this?
383.
Do we have the availability of this data?
Yeah, I can send this to you.
All
I
right.
can email it to you.
Yeah, I like
I'd email it ahead of time, but I only finished it about 4:30.
I'd like to look at it for future reference.
Yeah, the only other thing is the departments all have their budgets, they're working on them, their first drafts are due June 3rd. And then they'll get them back, and the final budgets, their final budgets are due to me July 12th. So probably early July, late June, early July, I'll send you all the invites so we can get in and start looking at what they're doing, what their requests are, and all that kind of stuff. And, let you take a look at it with that, give them time. Now, their budgets are due the day I get back from vacation, so. I'll have something to do when I get back. How many days is that? So, that's all I have. Anybody have, y'all have any questions about budget or anything?
What?
That's a lot of information to think about.
You guys have anything you want to talk to us about? You haven't said much.
He's covered, our police department, he's covered for you.
Anything y'all want to add? I mean, from my perspective, is there anything you want to add as far as what y'all want to do? So, I mean,
What about somebody that's gonna scan and all that,
Yeah.
scan and all that paperwork in the new,
They use light duty officers for that. They've
Yeah.
always got one or two.
Yeah, yeah.
one, seems like.
I got a 12-year-old that I can drop off here, he can scan it for you for free.
We could say something here, but I sure
Yes,
won't.
absolutely.
Resume?
Yeah,
anticipating future tickets?
actually, I could just
He'll
see
go ahead and
reading it,
do
never
this
mind,
community
you'd be like, oh
service
my
now.
God, you know what happened?
He did this.
Let's talk about world peace and stuff.
Yes, yeah, you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
I already been hard there for the chief, but I won't comment.
Yeah.
Council, have anything else?
No.
Let these people get home?
Yeah.
All right, we'll adjourn at 8:06.
We're done.